the Kwanzaa we celebrate tonight has how many A's in it? How many? 3. Because I heard 2 answers. So there are 3 in the one you're celebrating tonight. However, there is another from whence this one was derived that has 2 A's in it. And so one of the reasons that my ancestors were kidnapped and brought to this land was because of their ability to what? This is a celebration of the harvest. And they harvested some of what I said to you. What is this stuff again? Right, Sea Island cotton. As well as what? Carolina gold rice. And I'm wearing the other. Indigo. Cotton, rice, and indigo became the 3 major cash crops that built the infrastructure of not only the coastal region that is now the Gullah Geechee Nation, but all of the United States, you see. And so that, what again? What are we celebrating? Harvest wasn't just celebrated on a week-long schedule like the one we're doing tonight, but it was celebrated in the markets because more money could be made, the better the harvest. But see, that harvest celebration for African people was the one with the 2 A's, so that we could add it to North America that you now call the United States of America. And as I said to you earlier, this area was called Chikara when the native peoples were here before the British came in and brought the Africans. When they celebrated in the motherland, and still do in many places, Kwanzaa, it was a celebration of the harvest, because they knew that it was a blessing if you were able to grow anything. They never took it for granted. I know most of you think that your food grows in a supermarket, but it doesn't. It grows in plastic bags and boxes and microwavable product. I know some of you think so. Now there are laboratories where they're trying to synthetically grow your food. And it may eventually grow in plastic. But fortunately, as of this moment, the Creator has it such that things are still in order. And what you eat should come from the earth. It should come from the waterways. And I know most of you always think of the land when we talk about harvesting. But if I say I'm from an island, what does that mean? What is an island? It's a piece of land surrounded by water, right? So in the sea islands, we tend to harvest not only from the land, but also from the water. What is this in my hand? Anybody know? Fishnet. Somebody said, not black pantyhose now. Remember that song? Not that. This is a cast net. Can y'all say cast net? Cast net. Now in particular, this is one for fish. You see how large the holes are? This is a mullet net. But we also cast nets for shrimp. All right? How many of you love seafood? How you getting hungry now? They ain't got none at the corral, so you can just calm down. All right? Well, the thing about it for us is water is not a recreational space. It is a nurturing place. Because we need the water to bring we up, and the water won't take we back. So as I thought about tonight and this celebration, and I know we use what colors usually for Kwanzaa? Red, black, green. Red, black, and green. Do you know what they're for? Do you know what they represent? Red is for the blood. Black is people. And green, the land. Again, back to the land. A place of harvest, a place that should also be that place of nurture. But if it is not a healed piece of land, if it's not a holistic piece of land, It can be a place of poison instead of a place of nurture. And interestingly enough today, the Environmental Protection Agency is celebrating 40 years today. And so what an agency to have. You only need an agency to protect your environment when the human beings aren't doing it.
That's right.
The animals are not polluting it.
That's right.
They're living in the balance that we're all supposed to. And that's so critical to us in the Gullah Geechee Nation because we still grow our foods. We still go out in the creeks and the waterways. Much of the seafood you do eat here, we laughed today because we saw a restaurant that said fresh seafood. I said, yeah, right, there's no water here. So if it's been shifted on ice, it ain't fresh to us. Fresh to us is the gills still moving, you know, all of that. So it was interesting to us just looking around and seeing the urbanization of an area that one time was agrarian too. I know that was so long ago here in Raleigh, y'all don't think back that far. And in the Triangle. But yet, many of us have to think back to that so that we can recreate the what? Balance. So as I thought about the colors for tonight, and what they represent, I thought about the colors that represent so much in my community. And I said, yes, shades of blue. And as I mentioned earlier, we believe the water to bring we are the water might take we back. So blue waters are usually those that are unpolluted, that still have those healing energies and those powers. Those are the places in which we have baptism ceremonies. And when we have an evening gathering like this, y'all come with it, it's got sound around there. Where we are shouting and things like that. When we like this and we have outdoors, then you don't have to bring the earth inside because it's right there. You don't have to bring in the green leaves because it ought to be right there. Our ancestors got to this place and this space and looked around and from the landscape could smell it and tell the difference. That although it looked very similar to home, they knew it wasn't. So their shade of blue became that which is part of music now. Are there any ethnomusicologists in here? Interesting. At many universities, there's at least one, or if they already hide, they don't know why I'm asking that question. But many people study music and then feel that they can just alter the makeup of it, but not realizing you then alter the meaning. And so the spirituals have been altered as it moved about all over the mainland. And those spirituals came from the Gullah Geechee Nation. And they emitted from the plantations where those three cash crops, which were what? Rice, cotton, and indigo. What kind of rice? Carolina gold. What kind of cotton? Sea Island cotton were grown and harvested. And do you think that people were actually happy while they were doing that work? During the 1600s, the 1700s, the 1800s, you think they were joyful? No. Why not? Because it was labor? It's always labor. Because they weren't free. They weren't reaping anything from it. Or they were reaping a harvest that someone else would benefit from. Right? And so, some said, well, they weren't free. Well, the answer is yes and no. Because freedom is a choice. So there are those who, no matter what the circumstance is that may appear to you as them being in bondage, your spirit is free. So henceforth, even now, freedom is a choice. And fortunately, those spirituals were coded messages that gave that choice out freely, even in the midst of chattel enslavement. So much so that even to this day, we still sing those spirituals, and some build up to that crescendo that is the shout, so that if your spirit is down when you enter the praise house, or you enter the brush off and things like that, by the time you finish, get out, okay, spirit don't fly. But see, it did Y'all listen to things like get low, get low, get low, get low, right? And then you wonder why you flunk your test. What? All that you speak into existence is that which you will have. So although we feel like, it's just a party, ain't no problem. I'm talking about getting a little dancing. But you are planting a seed of being low. That's why I don't even answer the phone and say hello, because hell is low. I don't need to remind you of that. I pick up the phone and I say peace. Or I say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Greetings. But I don't say hello. You see? So there are a lot of things that we do because others said do it this way. Not that the others knew all of what was going to come upon you by doing it that way. They had taken to doing it, so they just told you do it, and then you did. So for years, people had us saying that we were slaves or descendants of slaves. When you call someone a slave, you have stripped them of all of their humanity. You have stripped them of their culture, their language, their traditions, their ability, their intellect, the very things that make you a human being. But when you say, my ancestors have been enslaved, then you take in an action. You say, well, who were those ancestors? And why were they enslaved? And what did they do? Because you said they were. So that means they're not anymore. How did they become free? Because first, they had to have that song in their heart, that drum beat that signaled them, that reminded them that they had a right to be free because they were human. But many times when we're in those environments that are seeded with things that bring you low, that tell you to be low, that tell you that you are no more than a slave, that you are in bondage, that there is no freedom, that things are hard, that they're going to get worse, that they're not going to be better. You may come out singing the blues. And the further inland that many of our people went, the songs transformed, and they became a whole new genre of music. Hence my question about ethnomusicology. Many of the spirituals became work songs and gang plantations in the deep south and in these upper regions in inland areas. And later, because of the hardship and the turmoil of them all, people's spirits started to change them and they sang the blues. But later they put a little more rhythm back to it, And that's why y'all got R&B today.